Thanks for the introduction, Benjamin. So yes, I'm the project lead of the Eclipse SmartHome project, but it's actually one of the rare occasions where I'm not doing a presentation about Eclipse SmartHome itself, but really rather want to focus today on one of the very latest features that have been implemented, which is the Eclipse IoT Marketplace integration. Nonetheless, for the ones of you that haven't heard about Eclipse SmartHome, let me say a few words about it. So it is, in essence, a framework, a library, a set of OSGI bundles to build smart home gateways. And as such, it really focuses on the application layer and on the local connectivity for such smart home gateways to get to something that I like to call the intranet of things, to really enable local communication, local rule execution, and not having a full dependency on the cloud side to switch my light, right? So it's really in the scope are these parts. It's not dealing with remote management of the gateway and so on. This is rather something that Eclipse Cura looks at, in contrast. So for the gateway, for the connectivity locally, Eclipse SmartHome follows the principle, which is more or less the Hollywood principle. So we are not saying, call us. We are defining a new kind of protocol that every device has to speak in order to be compatible with Eclipse SmartHome. No, we're rather going the pragmatic approach, say, well, we accept the diversity out there that everybody thinks he has to invent it again and again and come up with some proprietary API. So let's build it in a modular fashion and adapt and use the APIs that the devices that we want to integrate are actually offering to us. For this, it is very helpful that Eclipse SmartHome uses OSGI as a layer underneath. So this brings a very good modularity into the framework so that you can actually say you only choose the OSGI bundles for the devices that you want to support in your solution. In Eclipse SmartHome, these adapters are called bindings, and they're effectively more or less a single OSGI bundle that can be deployed. Now, saying Eclipse SmartHome is a framework, you have to build a solution that uses that framework in order to have something working in the end. We at Deutsche Telekom, we are building a commercial solution, the KiwiCon platform, which is available off the shelf. You can buy it in a shop as a piece of hardware, the gateway, and which runs Eclipse SmartHome on it, and to use that directly. The most popular one, and I have to correct Benjamin there, it's not the historical one, it still exists actually. The solution is OpenHAB, which is really open source, purely software, and usable to be installed by tech-savvy people on a Raspberry Pi or some other single-board computer locally. And this project, being open source, it just confirms what we've heard in many other talks. So open source really attracts developers, it attracts the community and brings that together. And so this is really where a lot of activity is going on. Now, saying it is a solution based on Eclipse SmartHome, what exactly does that mean? Well, it takes Eclipse SmartHome as a framework, it packages it together with our Eclipse Equinox as an OSGI framework, it puts Jetty on top as an HTTP server, and it adds all the different bindings for the device integration and also all kinds of other extensions together in a single package that can be installed and used right away. Now, with these many logos on here, if I'm telling you that this is only less than half of the bindings that exist for OpenHAB, you might already start seeing one of the problems of that project. which is that actually the attractiveness and the increase of developers and people contributing to the project is increasing year after year, and it's really not possible anymore for me to maintain that in a way that I respond quickly enough to new pull requests, do a proper code review on all the stuff, and integrate that into the core project itself. So on the lower right, you just see a few of the open GitHub pull requests. There are many more, and it's really not possible to get working on that. The chart shows the Google search trends for OpenHAB over the years. And just to mention, the red line there, it's not the x-axis, that's actually the search results for Eclipse IoT in comparison. So luckily, we now have the, no, not luckily. I want to mention first another problem besides all the bindings that are coming in, which is the automation rules. So the current way in Eclipse SmartHome to have automation logic locally is an Xtext-based scripting language, so a domain-specific language, where you can easily write, okay, if this event occurs, then do something. It's very powerful, but the rules that are created are very specific for every single user because he writes them and he sets that up for his own purposes. As a result, people do very fancy and cool stuff there, and they want to share it with others. So what they do is they post their rules on the wiki in OpenHAB for others to pick it up there, where you can copy-paste it. You have to adapt it to your own setup with your configuration and so on. So it's not really an ideal process here because you don't have a way to actually find the stuff you're interested in, and you have to get it working on your local installation afterwards. So that's another issue where really, it would be nice to have an easy mechanism to share things with others in the community. So, and now luckily we have a solution for that, which is the Eclipse Marketplace, which had just been launched, as Benjamin mentioned, for IoT projects as well. And the ones of you that will use the Eclipse IDE, which are probably many of you, they know the marketplace from being a good place for finding plugins to have further functionality in the Eclipse IDE available. And it really serves you as a kind of central catalog for all kinds of useful things from the community out there. So as a user, you can easily browse and filter through the listings that are available there. As somebody who wants to share something, you have the possibility to provide license information on that, which also means that it doesn't have to be something that is open source under EPL. It can be any kind of license. It doesn't even have to be open source. You can also share a closed source project there and make that available, which is also a great additional aspect which allows new and further stuff for OpenHAB, which cannot be contributed as a pull request because it could never get merged because of licensing issues. You can declare maturity on your listing, and it really serves just as a local catalog, so it points to actually your artifacts on your own server or anywhere on the web. So it's easy for you to actually update and keep that on your own build services and so on available. So this is really a very perfect solution as well for the binding aspects within OpenHAB. We can quickly have a look at the web browser. Let me increase that. Okay, well, that should be better readable. So that's the normal marketplace that you know with all the plugins for Eclipse, and you will find now here the IoT category with entries for Eclipse Kreuzer and SmartHome. And if you click here, and the Wi-Fi works, wonderful. So you see there are already quite some bindings and listings available, and that also already shows somehow the activity, because I actually just finished that feature a few days ago, so early last week, and people already start populating the marketplace and providing stuff in there. Now, this is on the Eclipse Marketplace website. We can also have a look at the running OpenHAB instance, which is locally on my computer here. So the paper UI is actually for administration purposes in OpenHAB, and if we go to add-ons here, we'll find actually exactly the same listings directly integrated into the OpenHAB solution now. And to install one, it's really as easy as clicking here. It downloads it remotely, installs it locally on runtime, and that's it. So we don't even need Hawkbit for that. No. So uninstall is even faster. Okay, so that much about the bindings. That's really convenient. But what about the automation rules? So, well, before going to the marketplace here, we actually implemented a new kind of rule engine last year in Eclipse SmartHome, which is a very modular design, where we looked a little bit at how if this then that is done with, you can combine any kind of trigger with any kind of action into a rule. We try to extend that concept to be more powerful by having also conditions to say, well, okay, this rule should only be done during the week but not on the weekend, or only while I'm at home but not when I'm gone, and stuff like that. And we also allow any kind of triggers and conditions and actions within a rule. So you can really assemble your rules by picking different kind of modules together, and these modules can have complex implementations underneath. So you can provide Java code with that. You can have scripting versions. And of course, we have simple or, well, standard types of modules being shipped with Eclipse SmartHome itself, like reacting on some kind of local event from a device, or sending a command to some other device and stuff like that. So with that, you can represent now a rule actually as a JSON structure, which more or less just now lists your triggers and the different modules, and which also then holds your personal configuration on that. So a rule is really just now represented as this piece of JSON, and this actually enables us to also easily build our graphical editors on top of that, where you can really say, well, okay, this is my trigger, this is my action. You take these things together, you add some configuration information, and you have that as a rule. Nonetheless, the rules are still specific to your personal setup, so it's not easily shareable. Now, to get from here to something shareable, we've introduced then a concept called rule templates. And what this effectively means is that you take your personal configuration out here and you replace it by some placeholder. And that can be within the configuration, that can be also within complex scripts that you provide in your implementation of the stuff. And using these placeholders then, you have on a template an additional section which describes now the configuration that is required for your template in order to make a rule for a specific user out of that. So you see for the energy meter template, we require consumption information. Somehow we require a light that we want to switch from green to red depending on our consumption. And we need some information about, okay, what is actually the maximum expected consumption where we want the light to be red. So these are now the configurations for the template, and that information is enough to actually instantiate a complex rule for a user. And with that, I'm switching again to my live system here. You might have seen on the add-ons that there's also the rule templates tab here available. And so these are now also entries on the Eclipse Marketplace where you have certain use cases implemented by someone that can be uploaded and easily shared as a use case for yourself, so becoming an automation rule in the end. Instead of using the add-ons and installing it here first, we can directly go to the Rules tab and say, let's create a new rule from the catalog. And we see the same selection here where we can now simply say, well, let's use the energy meter. And it immediately downloads the information from the internet and now allows us to instantiate this rule here. So what it asks are the 3 configuration values that we've seen. The first one is we have to provide some consumption. I don't have any devices here with me, so I've set up some virtual devices in the background simply, which I can choose. We need to select the light up. This one, and the maximum power, I have 10 kilowatts here. And so after entering the configuration, we create the rule, and there it is actively. We can look into that. So it has been created with a trigger, with an action. We can look into the details of the action. That actually here is some JavaScript that calculates now from a power value or a light value, a hue, that is then sent to my color light. So that has been created, and as I don't have the devices here, I will have to show that on some virtual dashboard as well, which I've prepared. So it's here my simulator, and on that I can now play God and just choose some energy consumption on that thing here. And down here you see a virtual color light. So if we're now choosing some consumption, you see that the light goes to a yellowish tone. If we have less consumption, it gets greener and greener, and a lot of consumption, it gets red. So you see this rule is directly active and working for a user that doesn't have to know how to do the scripting, how to do calculations. He can really easily make use of that use case here. Okay, just a few words about the implementation side. So what I've shown are the package types, binding, and rule template. We're also planning to have further types available there, like having specific UIs made available, having rule module implementations, and other stuff. You also see here that if you're uploading an entry, you can choose a package format, which is either just a jar file, an OSGI bundle, a JSON, or we also might have more complex packaging types like carafe features or archives, where you have to bundle several OSGI bundles into one package in the end. So that always depends on what kind of package type you actually deal with. And to allow this flexibility there, we also designed the Eclipse SmartHome integration, the marketplace integration, in a way that it's modular and you can easily plug in different kinds of handlers to actually deal with that situation. So the extension service is actually an implementation for an existing extension point that Eclipse SmartHome already had to plug in new kinds of extensions. And this now directly makes the stuff available from the marketplace, but only if it finds a handler that supports a certain combination of a package type and a package format. So these handlers, they also have then to know how to actually install stuff that is available on the web, how to keep it locally persisted, the information, to know what has actually already been installed and not, and so on. So you need some kind of logic in these handlers, and this might also depend on your solution actually, that you want to replace the ones that are offered by Eclipse SmartHome itself by something proprietary to your solution, because you have your own mechanism to actually download and install and persist stuff. Now, As this is the very first iteration of the implementation, there are a few things missing. I just want to mention what is coming up there in future as well. On the Eclipse Marketplace, you find this little install button, which you can use on the Eclipse IDE, where you simply drag and drop that so that the update side is used in the IDE to directly download and install the stuff. That is currently not working with OpenHAB itself internally there, but we plan to enhance the paper UI in a way that you can also simply drop URLs to that, so that this is possible there. Further package types and formats I've mentioned to support further stuff there. Another feature that is still missing is update management. So if there's a newer version of your extension available on the marketplace, you currently don't get any notification about that, and you have to uninstall and install it again in order to get the newer version. So there I'd like to see an update mechanism where you can get notifications and simply click on update, or even do it automatically once one is available. And at the moment, the integration does a full download of the catalog of all the Eclipse SmartHome listings whenever possible. And that works when we have tens or maybe hundreds of listings available there. But probably one day that might not be the best approach anymore. So we will have to look into something like incremental downloads, pagination on the UI side, to only load as much as it's really required for the user. And with that, I'm at the end, and thank you very much.
Any question for Kai?
Michael.
Why you bundle it together in OpenHAB and not bundle and distribute it through the Eclipse SmartHome? I don't make a difference.
It is the extension for the paper UI that exists in Eclipse SmartHome. The extension is in Eclipse SmartHome, but to show it, I had to use some solution, because as I said, Eclipse SmartHome as a framework itself, I can't show and demonstrate. So this is packaged within OpenHAB now available, but all the sources, all the code is Eclipse SmartHome itself. So if you're building your own solution on Eclipse SmartHome, you can make use of all that in exactly the same way. Does this answer your question?
You could also build a solution in Eclipse SmartHome, right?
Well,
there's no license issue, probably. What you're using, but not checking.
To do what exactly? So Eclipse SmartHome, from the scope, it is really the framework to just have these OSGI bundles. So yes, we for example have a small sample package of Eclipse SmartHome which really only uses Eclipse SmartHome stuff, puts Concierge as an OSGI framework underneath to have that as a sample. So that sample, yes, we can easily extend that to also allow the marketplace integration. And probably something we should definitely do as well there, yes. So that's perfectly possible. Any other questions? Yaima.
So I saw recently the OpenHAB Cloud in GitHub.
Mm-hmm.
Is this an official release or is it in beta?
Well, OpenHAB Cloud is not related to anything of that here. It's also purely an OpenHAB project. But, well, it is deployed, it is being run and used by many thousands of users. So, well, it is deployed and working software, yes. And we also have some companies already looking in using that for their remote access. Yeah.
So maybe while the next speaker sets up, I will take the liberty to ask the last question. When I look at smart home and OpenHAB, it always feels to me like it's 200% feature complete. What's in your roadmap? What's like the next top 1, 2, 3 features you guys are working on?
Tricky to say. So there are so many contributions coming in that I'm mainly dealing with what the people are doing there. So as a project lead, I'm really trying to let people do what they want and just orchestrate that, more or less. My personal things for the roadmap, it's mainly about getting the semantic tagging, how we call it internally. So actually provide a mechanism to really put ontologies on top of the information, the functionality that are available, and to really come to a next level of having a device abstraction layer in a way that you can have automation rules, as I've shown, to automatically derive and figure out what is actually the semantics of this switch if I'm doing something there. Does that fulfill my use case, and can I do that? So that will be definitely one of the bigger topics for the future.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Kai.
Okay.